From the banks of the Brazos, this is ESPN College Football, presented by Sling TV. It's the pomp and pageantry of homecoming weekend, and Baylor has owned Kansas. The Bears have won 12 straight against the lads from Lawrence, but lately the Jayhawks have been dressing for revenge. Anish Shroff, Brock Osweiler, Taylor McGregor down on the sideline. It's late October, but guess what? You can shelve those when does basketball season starts jokes when it comes to Kansas. Yes, Bill Self has the reigning champions. Lance Leipold has been behind one of the best stories in college football.
Yeah, Kansas is a phenomenal story for the 2022 college football season. This is not the Jayhawks team of old. This is a new brand of football here in Lawrence, and it really starts and stops with Lance Leipold and the message that he preaches. He has his team believing. They believe that they can beat anyone, they can compete in the Big 12, and this is a new brand of football. However, if they are going to have success today and get a big conference win on the road, they're going to have to find a way defensively to get some stops. Kansas gave up over 700 yards of offense last week against the Oklahoma Sooners.
Kansas, after a 5-0 start, has lost 2 in a row. Baylor is 3-3. They've dropped 2 straight. The Bears, the defending Big 12 champions. Baylor to kick it off. They won the toss, elected to defer. And there is a strong wind blowing here. For more on that, here's Taylor McGregor.
Well, first of all, we have to talk about the Kansas quarterback position. Jalen Daniels still dealing with a separated right shoulder. He did go through warm-ups today, although I did not see him make any throws. He was just handing the ball off. So Jason Bean will start for the second straight week. But back to your point about the wind, I was watching during warm-ups, and kicking in the south end zone is really going to be a problem. Head coach Lance Leipold telling me it will impact decision making. So up to 30-mile-an-hour gusts expected in today's game. Certainly something to pay attention to.
Jason Bean wearing a different number 9. Kansas in the throwback alternate uniforms, and Bean to throw on first down. The pass knocked down. Cole Maxwell, the 6th-year senior, batted it. It's second down and 10. This is a Kansas team again. They started 5-0, cracked the top 25, hosted game day. They've lost the last 2, Brock, to TCU and Oklahoma, but the way they played in those games, they were able to hang.
I agree, and I really think it just comes down to defense. Offensively, they're putting up a ton of points, but they have to find a way to get some stops on defense.
Handoff here is to Devin Neal, and he's able to pick up 2. It sets up 3rd and 8. Neal averaging better than 6.5 yards per carry. They love his vision. Impressed as a true freshman a season ago. 3rd down, where Kansas has been one of the best teams in the country at 54%.
Yeah, they certainly have. Anytime you're converting more than 50% on 3rd downs, you're doing a phenomenal job. But the reason why they're doing that is because their run game is so successful on 1st and 2nd down. They're finding themselves in 3rd and short and not 3rd and long like they are right now.
Being chased by Ika, and he throws to the sideline, incomplete. The tight end Mason Fairchild could not hold on after taking the hit. Baylor wants to keep Jason Bean in the pocket. Got to the outside, but it's incomplete. 3 and out go the Jayhawks, and Dave Aranda told us complimentary football, the defense helping out the offense, which wasn't really the case last week. That's a good start for Baylor.
It is, and now it's a tremendous test for that complimentary football. You just did what you wanted at home. You got the 3 and out. Kansas is punting to you, but now it's time to go get points if you want to be a great complimentary football team.
Reese Vernon punting into the wind, a shank job. It bounces at the 43, and Baylor will take over at the 41 of Kansas. Only a 14-yard punt as we check in again with Taylor.
With that, here comes Blake Shapen, who was removed from last Thursday's game with a concussion. He did not resume football activity until Tuesday when he cleared concussion protocol, and then Wednesday was his first full day of practice. But head coach Dave Aranda telling us that there were trainers watching him all week long to make sure he was not exemplifying any concussion symptoms. They feel like he is good to go here today, guys.
Yeah, Shapen was playing well, too, in that West Virginia game. 300-plus yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 23 yards of completion. On first down, they give us to Richard Reese. And he powers inside the 30. Kenny Logan the stop. Logan had 14 tackles last week. Reese began the year as the number 3 running back. With injuries and his performance, he's moved up to RB1.
Yeah, he's really had a tremendous season. The lights have not been too bright for this true freshman. He's playing well, and don't let it fool you. He's only listed at 175 pounds, but he can bring the wood, lower the shoulder, and get some extra yards.
Here's the toss to Quaylon Jones. He's a bigger, more powerful back, and he's taken down from behind by Rich Miller, a Buffalo transfer and Kansas's leading tackler. So you've got Quaylon Jones and Richard Reese. They will be the primary running backs today. Squirrel Williams is out with a head injury. Tay McWilliams will miss his 5th straight game after suffering a concussion in the loss to BYU. 2nd and 7 after a pickup of 3, and Chapin sets up under center. 2 tight ends in the game. Chapin, incomplete. Wanted Quaylon Jones on a little screen pass, and it's 3rd down. For Baylor, this is 4-down territory. Both of these teams have had kicking issues. Baylor's just flat out aggressive when it comes to 4th down anyway.
They are, and they definitely use analytics as their friend. They know pre-drive, before they run out on the field for the start of the series, what they're going to need on 4th down if they're going to go for it. Is it 5 yards? Is it 4 yards? Is it 6 yards? So look for Baylor to treat 3rd down almost like 2nd down.
Baylor in the loss to West Virginia last Thursday, 590 yards of total offense. Reese gets the call, big hole, and he moves the chains to the 22. Lonnie Phelps the stop, a gain of 9, and a new 1st down for Baylor.
And to our point, you see it there by making the 3rd and medium play call of a run. Now you know, okay, Baylor's thinking, regardless of what happens on 3rd down, we're going for it on 4th down.
Dave Aranda says they have a number in mind in terms of distance before the series starts. So if that's 5 and they can get it to 4th and 5, they'll go for it. Chapin to throw. Looks off his running back under pressure, and he's sacked. Caleb Sampson, the D tackle, a 6th-year senior, and a loss that sends Baylor back to the 23-yard line.
Great job by Caleb Sampson inside at the defensive tackle position, just beating his one-on-one block, getting to the quarterback. That's a situation, though, where Chapin needs to get rid of the football. Anytime you're in the high red zone, the last thing you want to do as a quarterback is have a negative play.
Here's Reese. Patient run, gets close to the original line of scrimmage, and it'll bring up a 3rd and long here for Baylor.
Something to watch for today that we've already seen early in this football game. Baylor, traditionally, under Jeff Grimes, offensive coordinator, does a great job of almost being 50-50 shotgun and under center. However, we expect to see more shotgun plays today for Blake Chapin so he can see the coverage a little bit better from that shotgun position with him only being 6 feet tall.
Yeah, he will empty it out here. 5 wide on 3rd and long. Tunnel screen. Monterey Baldwin has an opening. Monterey. Touchdown Baylor.
I love the play call. There's not a lot of options on your call sheet as an offensive coordinator when you're in 3rd and long inside that red zone. Sometimes your best bet is to go with the quick slip screen, which he did to Monterey Baldwin, who has elite speed and great quicks.
He had a huge game against Oklahoma State a couple of weeks ago. 174 yards, 2 touchdowns. The extra point by John Mayers is good. Baylor takes advantage of the short field.
You want to play complimentary football, Dave Aranda? Well, you just did. You got the 3 and out, then you take the punt, you go score 7 on your first series. Great job, Baylor.
You're watching the Big 12 on ESPN. Homecoming weekend on the campus of Baylor University. Huge deal here. About, 7 o'clock this morning, you could hear all the bells and whistles from our hotel just down the road.
Yeah, I think I woke up to the Baylor band marching outside of my window.
Who needs an alarm? Let's go back to the touchdown from Baylor.
Yeah, perfect play call at the right time by Jeff Grimes. He catches Kansas defense in a blitz zero change defense, which means linebackers are blitzing, defensive ends are dropping. A screen is the perfect play call against cover zero. It basically creates a punt return situation with your offensive lineman getting out in front and blocking secondary players. Perfect play call. Great job by Baldwin finding the crease.
Kansas in the Hail to Old Kansas unis, which debuted last year in the Texas Tech game. Misdirection. Baylor all over it. It's an ambush, and Quentin Skinner just able to get back to the line of scrimmage. No gain.
I tell you what, tremendous job right there by defensive end Gabe Hall, the junior, staying home. There's a lot of eye candy that the Kansas offense is going to give you. There's a lot of motions, shifts, misdirections.
Oh, they said he lost the football, and Baylor's got it. What a turn of events here for the Bears. First drive, shank punt leads to a short field. A few plays later, a touchdown. And now Skinner coughed it up at the end of the play. Baylor had it. Let's get one more look. Didn't see it initially. Yeah, it looked like at first glance he was just down. The officials ruled it's Baylor ball. Jackie Marshall covered it up. And they may look at this, unless they already have.
Boy, that ball is clearly out before the runner was down.
Yeah.
What a start for the Baylor Bears here. Homecoming. Crowd starting to fill in. Great field position.
From the 25-yard line, Quaylon Jones bodies backwards to the 15. He's got a first down. A pickup of 10. Jones, the big 240-pound bruiser out of Grand Prairie, Texas.
And that's what Baylor can do to you. They're going to play a lot of their plays in 2 or 3 tight end sets. Right there, they're in 12 personnel, 2 tight ends. They have double teams across the board up front with the offensive lineman and the tight end. Easy pickings for the running back.
You got to know where Ben Sims is down here. 11 career touchdown catches, the tight end. Handoff, it's Reese. Touchdown, Richard Reese. Baylor putting multiple exclamation marks up to begin this football game.
Yes, they are, and they're doing it with attitude, with conviction. They're just lining up right now. They're not doing anything special, but they're saying, listen, we're bigger than you, we're stronger than you, and we want it more. We're going to run it right at you early in this football game and see if you're ready to play.
2 plays, 25 yards, and Reese off to a great start. 4 rushes, 42 yards here in the first few minutes of this ball game. 14-0 Baylor. The Bears capitalize again on a short field. Skinner fumbles. Marshall recovers. 2 plays later, Richard Reese. Pater.
ESPN College Football is presented by Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love.
Baylor has come out like a pack of bears who missed breakfast. 11 a.m. kick, 14-0, less than 5 minutes into this game. And both times the Bears aided by a short field. Kansas punting into the wind. Reese Vernon hit a 14-yard punt. Short field, Baylor scores, touchdown Monterey Baldwin, and then a turnover. Baylor takes over at the 25. 2 plays later, it's Richard Reese. What Lance Leipold likes about this Kansas team, resiliency. He said, we've learned, we get down 14 on the road, we're okay. Last year, different story, and he pointed to the Baylor game last year where he felt he had a defeated team in the locker room at halftime.
That's correct. Once again, this is a different Jayhawks team than in the previous years. However, this is going to be a tremendous test. Down 14, going into a very, very brisk wind. with gusts 30 miles per hour plus right now, it's going to be really hard to move the ball offensively for Kansas until they get a flip and go the other direction.
As you saw, Baylor kicking with the wind. Taylor?
Well, the message down here on the Kansas sideline, weather the storm. Hey, look, it is still early. Coaches asking players to look them in the eye and say, it is still early. We can weather this storm.
And Brock, really, if you can weather the storm for the first quarter, the second quarter, you get the wind.
I think that's the goal right now, and I think that was the ideology by going into the wind in the first quarter. You definitely want it at your back, trying to get points before halftime. However, you do need to weather that storm, and Baylor's bringing a heck of a storm right now.
Devin Neal, only a pickup of 2. Defensively, if you're Baylor, you're Ron Roberts, you're Dave Aranda, you also got to know, hey, driving into this heavy wind, we probably won't see as many pass plays from this offense.
You're exactly right. Now, you might see some screens, some quick game throws, 5-yard outs, slants, things like that, RPO-esque throws. But you also know Kansas can't push the ball deep down the field with a deep throw, so it helps with your play calls defensively.
Bean, the play fake. He'll fire downfield in traffic, and it's incomplete. He wanted Mason Fairchild, the tight end. And it brings up 3rd and 8. That was in traffic, but it was on target.
Yeah, it was heavy traffic, but I'll say this, Jason Bean threw a dime, and Mason Fairchild, that tight end, he's usually a very sure-handed guy. He had a big game last week at Oklahoma with 2 touchdown receptions. That's one that he's going to need to bring in, especially if Kansas is going to weather this storm early in the football game.
Bean in the pocket, and that's a strike across the 40-yard line, a first down. Fairchild again, 3rd target, his first catch, and Kansas with its first down and a little exhale for this offense.
Yeah, credit Fairchild there, bringing in the ball in traffic, but really, Bean does a tremendous job of working through his progressions. He worked all the way from the far right side of the field all the way back to the left side. Tremendous job right there by the 5th-year senior.
Bean's got great speed. Baylor fears Bean getting on the perimeter. Now he'll dance to the outside. He'll show off the wheels, but scampers out of bounds. TJ Franklin cut off the angle. No gain. Jason Bean, again, wearing number 9 instead of his customary 17. We were not given a reason. 4 touchdown passes in back-to-back games, starting for the 2nd straight week in place of the injured Jalen Daniels. He began his career at North Texas, but a lot of starting experience. This is his 17th career start. He started 9 games a season ago for Kansas.
Yeah, he's not your typical backup quarterback. He has a ton of playing experience, also starting experience like he's doing today. The kid is playing with a ton of confidence, and like you said, he has 8 touchdown passes through 6 quarters already in relief in these last 2 games.
A gain of a couple for Savion Morrison, the Nebraska transfer, averaging close to 9.5 yards per carry. And there was chatter in the offseason whether Kansas should move Bean to wide receiver because of his speed, but the coaches said internally that was never a consideration. Look at the landscape of college football now. What's the hardest thing for any team to have? It's depth at the quarterback position.
It is, because ultimately now in today's game with the transfer portal, if you're not the starting quarterback, more than likely you're trying to transfer and find a school that you can start at.
Baylor brings pressure off the edge. Neal picked up the blitz. Bean fires downfield. That's going to be well short. Flag down. Lawrence Arnold was covered by Mark Milton, and there was definitely contact.
Well, if you're Kansas, you can definitely thank the wind right there for that pass interference call. That's one. Once again, Kansas going into a hard wind, 20, 25, 30 miles per hour. That
pass
ball kind of...
Number 3, defense, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
That ball floated up in the air. The wind grabbed it, which ultimately made the receiver come back. Defensive back didn't know the ball was going to be thrown short. It's just one of those deals you're going to see right here. It's just, he doesn't know the contact's coming. Mark Milton just kind of gets caught by surprise, didn't get his head around to locate the football, and just gets a little bit lazy with his technique there late.
There was an injured Kansas player, left tackle Earl Bostic. This offensive line 2 years ago was incredibly young, They gave up almost 50 sacks in 9 games that season. They've only given up 4 sacks all season. They've treated their quarterback like the Praetorian Guard treats its Roman emperor.
They really have. You just hit the nail on the head. 4 sacks all season long. That's 1 sack every 42 pass attempts. And it's really been a group effort. It's been the offensive line. It's been the tremendous run game that Kansas has. And it's also been the quarterbacks making good, smart, quick decisions.
In Baylor territory, Bean hits his running back Morrison. He's got room. Little stutter step. And inside the 30 to the 28-yard line, a gain of about 11 as we check in with Taylor.
To your point about the offensive line, speaking with center Mike Nowitzki, who came with Leipold from Buffalo, he said he feels like the difference from 2 years ago until today is the continuity and the messaging coming with the staff from Buffalo that's been together forever, all of them on the exact same page. They know how to teach what they want. So yes, senior and veterans are important, but also a continuity and messaging.
And Nowitzki, one of 8 Buffalo transfers on this Kansas team. Neal gets the call and spins forward for a gain of a yard. It's 2nd down and 9.
To Taylor's point, as a player, having trust in what your coaches are preaching, what they're telling you to do, the system they run, and confidence in that, that is so paramount. So you can definitely see Kansas is playing with that.
Bean will run, and he's got an opening. Bounces to the outside, and there's that photon fast speed. A red zone opportunity for Kansas and another 1st down.
We heard it yesterday. Ron Roberts, defense coordinator Baylor, said it. He goes, listen, we need to keep Jason Bean in the pocket. He has elite speed. Anytime he gets outside the pocket, the Baylor staff really feels like he can actually take it the distance and end up in the end zone. There's a massive focus today on keeping him in the pocket and trying to beat him with their arm.
Baylor has not had much of a pass rush, but they said in this game, it's more about keeping Bean in the pocket than getting sacks. Trips to the right. They'll set up the screen. Tanaka Scott. And he's to the 15-yard line, a pickup of 3.
Great job by Devin Lemire flying in from his safety position, making the tackle there. And that was something Baylor didn't do a great job of last Thursday night against West Virginia. Tackling was an issue. Getting the guy down on contact. Good open field tackle there.
Uncharacteristic of a Dave Aranda defense. Kansas in the red zone has been outstanding this season. Split backs, Morrison and Neal flank Bean. Jared Casey, the motion man. Bean will keep. Speed option. Gets the edge and sidesteps out of bounds at about the 12, 11-yard line. A gain of 4. 3rd down upcoming.
I tell you what, if you're playing this Kansas offense, you have to have extreme eye discipline. Just there on that last play, Kansas has the option to hand off the outside zone play to the left or keep it. Quarterback has the option to run, and he also has the option to pitch it on the speed option. A lot of different variables in this offense. You have to have great discipline on defense for Baylor.
Window dressing and eye candy. It's like a field trip to Amsterdam. Bean lost the football, and Kansas able to dive on it. Fairchild, the tight end, covers it up.
Little miscommunication there between the quarterback and center. Looked like that ball came early on Jason Bean. He wasn't quite prepared for it.
And now it's 4th down, and instead of kicking into the wind, the offense will stay out on the field.
I think this is a great call by Lance Leipold. Go for it here. This wind is bad. Right now, Kansas is dead into it. It's whipping, it's swirling. I love the play call for going for it on 4th down.
Fairchild, the motion man. And before the snap, we get a flag.
Looks like they're going to take their chances with the field goal now.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 77. Offense, 5-yard penalty, still 4th down.
That's the right tackle, Cable do. So Jacob Borchilla, only 3 for 6 on the season. His 3 makes are short kicks, 22, 33, and 40. His misses from 31, 40, and 50. And this is a 36-yarder into about a 30-mile-per-hour wind gust. And another penalty marker.
Baylor jumped. Baylor jumped early.
So now do you go for it?
Offside with contact, number 98. Defense, 5-yard penalty. Still 4th down.
That's Chidi Obanaya, the 6th-year senior. Okay.
I don't know why you wouldn't. You just got your 5 yards back. You're back in the same position that you were just in.
And it looks like the field goal unit will stay on the field. A closer attempt now. 30 yards. Borchilla's kick is good, and Kansas gets on the board. 12 plays, 62 yards. The Jayhawks ate up 7+ minutes of clock, and Lance Leipold's team gets 3. Kansas driving 62 yards in 12 plays, but Brock, there's more to that time of possession stat than usual.
Certainly. Kansas was huddling up right there. They were really trying to slow things down for 2 reasons. One, you don't want to give the ball back to Baylor's offense right now, who's on fire, having 2 touchdowns early in the game. And then the second part of that is you're trying to kill this first quarter. You want the ball in the second quarter when the wind's at your back. You're just trying to get out of the first quarter right now.
A short kick. And it is fair caught right at the 25-yard line. Kevin Connors has a studio update for us. Good morning, Kevin.
That AT&T 5G studio update after an Iowa defensive touchdown. Sam Acho, Mayan Williams answered.
Ohio State's glad to have Mayan Williams back. He's back healthy, scoring touchdowns again.
10-7 Buckeyes. And in Death Valley, impressive answer from Garrett Schrader and Sean Tucker.
This is tough for a defensive player to try and guard Sean Tucker out of the backfield. That's why it's a touchdown.
Fagans is rocking. They're tied at 7 at Ish.
Yeah, varsity's hoping to flip a flag, too. Play action. Shapen's got time. He'll launch down the seam. And incomplete for Baldwin, who had a Baylor touchdown reception on the first drive.
So as difficult as it is to throw into the wind, it's also somewhat difficult to throw with the wind when it's blowing this hard, because you have to take so much off of it, and you see it there. Shapen overled his receiver by about 3-4 yards. It's a little bit different when you have 30 miles per hour at your back throwing footballs.
Remember the Vortex footballs they used to make?
Absolutely.
It's what it's like.
Throw them like 80 yards.
Speed option. Reese. And he's going to move the chains. 11 more for Richard Reese. Up to 53 yards on just 5 carries in the opening quarter.
Tell you what, this true freshman is super impressive. Having a great freshman campaign, and you can see why. The guy at 175 pounds, he can run with power. He can run with speed. He can make the first miss. He has great vision, great patience. A lot of fun to watch.
Quaylen Jones now the running back in the pistol. 2 tight ends. Dabney and Sims lined up to the left of the formation. Play fake. Shapen had room to run. Instead, on the leak out, he's got Dabney, the tight end, cutting across. And a first down near midfield, a gain of 14. Drake Dabney coming off a career game in the Thursday night loss to West Virginia. 5 catches, 66 yards, both the best marks of his Baylor career.
So this is what you get when your run game is having so much success early on in the game. When you go play action boot, you're going to get a tight end to pop wide open, because Kansas, their defense has to overcommit to the run. Great job there by Drake Dabney, finishing in the play, lowering his shoulder, and bringing the boom.
Shapen escapes somehow and slides to the 45-yard line. Ended up picking 3 as the pocket was collapsing around him.
Well, I tell you what, if I'm Jeff Grimes right now calling plays, I'm sticking to the run. I'm running, and making Kansas stop me. Kansas last week against Oklahoma gave up 298 yards on the ground. I'm going to test them to see if they fixed the issues that they had from a week ago.
Jayhawks gave up more than 700 yards altogether last week. Back to the ground, another strong run. A gain of 7 by Reese. Sampson the hit at the end. And we get a flag on the play.
Holding number 64. Offense, 10-yard penalty, still second down.
Well, number 64, even though he gets called for the penalty, it's a good sign he's back out there for Baylor. Khalil Keith, right tackle, making his season debut, got nicked up camp, wasn't able to go today. Baylor O-line came into the season as the strength of the offense, and the coaches candidly have said they've left a little meat on the bone so far. They've underperformed.
Yeah, they're expecting more. This is an offensive line unit that has the second most experience in the nation. Coaching staff is expecting a lot out of this offensive line group.
Sims now slot left. Chapin lets it fly. And it's caught, but out of bounds. Gavin Holmes coming off a 200-yard game last week against West Virginia.
I liked the decision there by Chapin, finding Gavin Holmes in a man-to-man situation, trying to take a shot down the field while he has the wind at his back for 52 more seconds.
Brock, you think run here, given field position, and maybe you're trying to get one more before this quarter ends, because if Kansas gets a stop, it changes the equation a little bit in this game.
Yeah, this is certainly a high percentage screen or draw type situation to melt the clock and try to get better field position.
Chapin steps up, throws to the sideline. Sims brings it inbounds, and he picks up the first down, a gain of 17 for Ben Sims, who's Baylor's all-time leader in touchdown catches for a tight end.
Well, why throw a screen or why run a draw when you have Ben Sims on the outside that can pick up the third and long for you? I love this tight end. I was down on the field pregame. I tell you what, man, this guy looks the part. He's got great hands. This is someone that you're going to be seeing playing a lot of football on Sundays.
And he's also the safety net for Chapin, who fires a strike over the middle, and it's through the hands of Javon Gibson. Now, that might have been a touchdown if he holds on.
Yeah, that's one Gibson needs to bring in. I love the play action. Chapin coming back, sticking that back foot in the ground, driving that glance throw in there, kind of almost like a deep slant, like a quick in type route. That was a ball that certainly could have gone the distance if it was brought in.
20 seconds left in this opening quarter. Baylor with the wind to its back. Chapin setting up the screen to Sims. And he rumbles inside the 25. And he's got enough for another Bears first down. And that could take us to the end of the first quarter. But it looks like Baylor may want to try to get one more play with the wind at its back.
Let's see if they just try to get them to jump off sides real quick. I doubt they snap it.
That is the end of the first quarter.
And that brings us to the end of quarter number one. Baylor's had the ball twice. They've scored twice. They are in scoring territory again. The Bears have it at the 25 of Kansas when quarter number two begins.
Baylor couldn't ask for a better start on offense today. Really rolling early on in this football game.
Second quarter about to begin. 1st and 10 Baylor from the Kansas 25. Here comes Reese. And the true freshman takes it to the 18, a gain of 7. He's become the bell cow in this Bears rushing attack. Baylor capitalized on a couple of short fields, one on a short punt, the other on a turnover. Scored both times. Kansas used a 7-minute drive to come up with a field goal. And now it's Baylor going into the wind, which has been a little intermittent. Not as strong as it was earlier in the game. On second down, Reese again, hit immediately. Rich Miller, top tackler for Kansas.
Anish, to your point about the wind, it's not as consistent as it used to be. Definitely still gusts, but I do not feel like is it as consistent as it was at the beginning of the game.
And it's something to watch, and Brock, you brought up the point. You got to take advantage of your opportunities when you have that wind to your back. Third down and short. Two tight ends and a fullback. Reese got a block from Dylan Doyle, the linebacker. Did he get enough? He did not. It's 4th down. Baylor on those short yardage situations will bring in Doyle, number 5. He's a linebacker, and he can play a little fullback too for you.
Yeah, this is kind of their muscle personnel grouping, right? They get as many big guys as they can out there. All you're doing is you're fighting for 6 inches right now. So the more muscle you can get, the more size, definitely plays to your advantage.
They'll go for it on 4th down, no surprise. Doyle, the fullback, Jones, the deep back. Doyle gets the carry and carries a few defenders for a 1st down. Hey, reward the big guy every now and then.
Yeah, that's fun to watch. But that's why you bring him in, right? He's big, he's strong, he's physical. He's not afraid of contact. He was met at the line of scrimmage, kept driving those feet, ended up across the line to gain.
A transfer from Iowa who had close to 150 tackles the last 2 years with the Hawkeyes. Had 10 tackles last week against West Virginia. 14th play of the drive now. Neighbors goes in motion. Quaylen Jones gets the call, shed the initial tackler, and drives down to the 4-yard line.
Great job by Jones there, having a little bit of patience, just running a zone run type scheme. He's pressing the hole, There's nowhere to go. He's patient enough to put his foot in the ground, cut back against it. His offensive line did a great job of building the wall and kind of washing that Kansas defensive line out of the way.
He's at the 9. It's 2nd down, 7 to go. Baylor can still get a 1st down. Jones now goes wide, empty set. Kyron Drones in there at quarterback, and he takes it inside the 5 to the 4. So Drones finished the game last Thursday against West Virginia after Chapin took the helmet-to-helmet hit to the head, and he's another guy that can help you in these short yardage situations as a quarterback running option.
Yeah, you know, being down on the field pregame and you kind of get to stand next to the guy, watch him warm up. He's a big dude now. He reminds me a lot of Josh Allen up with the Buffalo Bills. Big body, he's physical, and he's got some wheels.
They'll run the speed option. And Drones is in for 6. It started to look like a speed option, then it looked like quarterback power right behind Quaylen Jones. 3 offensive drives, 3 touchdowns for the Baylor Bears.
I tell you what, Baylor has something to their advantage. If they can get Blake Chapin pushing the ball down the field, and then you get Drones, get him a little red area package like this where he can be a run-pass threat. Because don't kid yourself, Drones can throw the ball now, and he played great in relief last week. But like I said before, he's a big physical body, very athletic. Great job there of getting himself in the end zone.
The extra point by Mayers is good. 16 plays on that drive for Baylor. Kansas has run 15 the entire game. Drones, the touchdown run for the Bears.
Cincinnati riding a 5-game win streak over on ESPN against SMU. Houston Navy on ESPNU. Heisman candidate Hendon Hooker in Tennessee taking on UT Martin and Niche on the SEC network.
How about the SEC? Tennessee, what a scene in Knoxville after the win against Bama last week. Baylor here with a 21-3 lead on Kansas. The Bears have scored on every possession, and they'll have a holder here as they kick into the wind. It's a short one, a sky kick, fair caught near the 25-yard line. Tonight, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Saturday Night Football as number 16 Penn State looking to bounce back after the Michigan loss. Nittany Lions home for Minnesota. Gophers have a great offensive line and a great running back in Muhammad Ibrahim. Ibrahim averaging almost 7 yards a carry this season. Kansas ball. They've got it at the 26-yard line. Jason Bean began the year as the backup quarterback, making his second start. Came in for an injured Jalen Daniels in the TCU game. And his team now has the wind at its back for the first time. On the ground here on 1st down. And it's Savion Morrison for a yard. 2nd down and 9.
Tell you what, this is a very critical series for Kansas, down 21-3. approaching the midway point in the second quarter. You talked earlier, Lance Leipold said this is a different team. When we get down, we don't quit. We're still willing to fight. We're a gritty team. Well, now if you're the Kansas Jayhawks, it's time to put that out there on tape.
Kansas with a win today would be bowl eligible for the first time since 2008. And Bean launches down the middle, incomplete. Trevor Wilson had it go off his hands. Good throw. Wilson could not hang on.
I'll tell you what, that's one that Wilson absolutely needs to bring in. Bean flirting with danger a little bit. There was a safety in the middle of the field, but he did a great job of driving that throw, taking the air out of it. That's a ball that should have been caught. Great job there. He just needs to be careful staring down the middle of the field when that safety's there, but nevertheless, put the ball on a dime. Wideout needs to bring that one in.
That safety is Devin Neal, not the same Devin Neal who plays running back for Kansas. Bean to the air, back to Wilson. He hangs on and gets drilled. Alfonso Allen, the freshman safety right there.
Yeah, that was one I would like to try to see Bean hang in the pocket a little bit and try to find a throw that was past the line to gain. He must have felt like he had some pressure coming, needed to get that ball out quick, and that's a throw that he needs to back hip that wide receiver so he's not led into that cover 2 corner.
Reese Vernon, first punt went 14 yards. This one bounces at the 28. Gavin Holmes on a big hop. Turns the corner, room to run. Holmes across the 40 to the 42. And Baylor again with terrific starting field position. A 22-yard return by Holmes after a 48-yard punt by Vernon.
ESPN College Football is presented by Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love.
A+ mullet followed by an A+ beard. Dave Aranda, 2-7 in his first season. Took over during a pandemic, never really had spring ball. Year 2, Baylor wins the Big 12, beats Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl. Lance Leipold took over at Kansas last year. In the first season, he takes over in May. So again, no spring ball. They needed flashcards to learn the players' names. Year 2, 5-2. They started 5-0 before back-to-back losses to TCU and Oklahoma. Richard Reese pushed back. Jerome Robinson stood him up only a yard. Almost an impossible task given the circumstances in year 1 for both of these coaches, but yeah, you're starting to see their blueprint, their fingerprints on their respective programs.
Yeah, and both these coaches are doing a tremendous job. Dave Aranda winning the Big 12 Coach of the Year last season. Sugar Bowl victory. I love what he's doing here in Waco. Offensively, defensively.
That pass is intercepted. Mello Dotson. His second pick of his career, the first of the season. The sophomore out of Daytona Beach, and Kansas takes over with the wind at its back. Field ball 42.
Yeah, this ball just getting away from shifted inside. Another bootleg off the run game, much success with.
Your receiver can get access to it, left it inside, interception Kansas.
They mark it at the 45-yard line. Devin Neal is the running back. We apologize for any audio issues we may be having. Bean moves the pocket, eyes downfield, nobody there, and he throws it toward the Baylor sideline, 2nd and 10.
Interesting play call there. Kansas coming off the big momentum play. They get the turnover that they desperately need, which you're kind of used to seeing a shot play there, especially with, you know, your wind or your back to the wind, excuse me. Take a shot for the end zone, try to regain some momentum, but they run a bootleg to the short side of the field, nowhere for those receivers to go. They ran out of space.
2 tight ends into the game. On the ground. And that's Neal, brought down by Matt Jones. This Baylor defense
saw 4 players get drafted a season ago from the Big 12 championship team. Most importantly, safety Jalen Petrie, the Big 12 Defensive Player of the Year, and then Terrell Bernard. They weren't just stars, they were also the leaders on that defense. That void has yet to be replaced.
Yeah, to your point, last year was more of a player-led team. It seems like this year with the younger starters, it's more of a coach-led team.
4 wide. Bean in the pocket. Incomplete. Wanted Douglas a million. It'll bring up 4th down. Offense looks to the sideline, and it appears they will go for it.
I love that they're going for it here on 4th down, but that's going to be one that Jason Bean's going to want back at the top of your screen. Perfect play call there by Kansas. He had his receiver over the top on the big post. Missed opportunity there by quarterback Jason Bean.
Kansas needs the Baylor 35. Jared Casey, the hero of the Texas win last year, in motion. And now a pooch kick. And this one bounces inside the 15. Rolling, rolling, rolling. And it dies at the 1-yard line. And now Baylor has to drive 99 yards into the wind. I'll look at the Taco Bell Live Más student section. Student sections across the country competing to be the Live Más student section of the year all season long. Baylor has had Kansas's number. The Jayhawks have never beaten the Bears in Waco. Baylor's got it from its own 1-yard line.
Ball's on the ground.
And the ball looks like it went on the ground. Baylor able to cover it back up.
Almost looked like Chapin was a little surprised there that the ball was getting snapped from our vantage point. That was the classic. It was going to be a quarterback sneak. Chapin just did not secure the football before he started driving forward.
They run it again. Quaylon Jones doesn't get very far. It'll bring up 3rd down. Baylor in the shadow of its own end zone. After a perfect pooch punt by the quarterback Jason Bean to pin the Bears at the 1. 3rd down, 9 to go.
Tough situation for Baylor here going into the wind. You're really limited with your play calls. Hard to drive the football down the field in the pass game right now.
Chapin from his own end zone. Able to complete out to the 20-yard line. Hal Presley. The Auburn transfer moves the chains, a gain of 16. And if you look at the play selection in his 2nd quarter, Baylor going into the wind, 10 rushes, only 2 pass attempts. One of those throws was a pick. That's a completion.
Boy, credit the Baylor offensive line there for giving Chapin more than enough. But then also on the defensive side of the ball, Mello Dotson for Kansas needs to get up. He needs to know where the 1st down sticks are, and he needs to play much tighter. He knows the ball's not going over his head with this strong wind. Play tighter coverage, play the sticks.
Play action. Chapin eyes up, now tucks. Scampers out at the 25, a gain of 6.
Boy, Baylor just got out of jail free right there. They were backed up. They were about to have to kick into this 30-mile-per-hour wind. Who knows? Kansas might have got the ball on the 20-yard line there in plus territory. That's one where defense, you need to communicate. Whoever that leader is on that defense side of the ball, you need to be vocal in that situation to where everyone understands where the sticks are, play them, and force Baylor to punt.
It's been a problem defensively at times for Kansas. They are near the bottom nationally in pass defense. The toss to Quaylon Jones. Full head of steam. And across the 35, a gain of 12, a 1st down for Baylor. The rushing attack has been on point. 100+ yards on the ground in this first half, 66 by Reese. Jones has 30 on just 5 carries.
It just seems like Baylor has the perfect situation right now. If they want to run the football, they can. They've had success outside of the turnover in the boot outside the pocket game. They've pushed the ball down the field a bit.
5 yards a carry on the ground. And that time a pickup of a couple. It's Reese to the 40.
Sometimes you can just feel when an offense is in rhythm, and going back to the point I was just making, that's where Baylor's at. They're in rhythm. Well, Kansas now, they have to find a way to get them out of rhythm. I understand Kansas plays somewhat of a bend, but don't break defense, more soft zone. But at some point, you got to start throwing some blitz packages out there, trying to create negative plays.
Shapen looking to the sideline. Back to Reese. And he's thrown down after a pickup of 3 by Marvin Grant, the Purdue transfer.
Richard Reese, the ball carrier.
Great tackle by Grant coming up from the safety position, reading the play perfectly, coming up, making a big time hit. Great form tackle.
Kansas today without one of its top corners, Kobe Bryant. He left the Oklahoma game with an injury.
Kansas showing pressure here. You had the safeties cheating over, linebackers bumped up.
There's the blitz. Here's a run. Here's an opening. And a first down, a gain of 7 yards. It's Reese again.
Great job here by the Baylor offensive line, led by Jacob Gall right there at center, 66. Great job reaching up to the second level and sealing off that wall for the first down carry.
Shapen dancing around. Has Jones in the flat. Did he keep his foot in bounds? He did. And Baylor now into Kansas territory, a gain of 4. And now they're talking about it. Incomplete is the call.
The receiver had stepped out of bounds.
Did he go out of bounds and come back in?
Incomplete pass. Second down.
Let's see where Quaylon Jones is standing. And again, if you go out of bounds on your own accord, you can't be the first player to come back in and touch the ball. So he must have had a foot on the line. 2nd and 10 now, back from midfield. The give is to Reese, and he's devoured. Only a yard. Lonnie Phelps, who's been one of the best pass rushers, makes the play.
There we go. It's time we call Lonnie Phelps' name. I've been waiting all day. Ton of fun to watch on tape this week preparing for the football game. This is a guy who transferred in from Miami of Ohio, and he plays with a chip on his shoulder, and he plays with a high motor on game day, already with 6 sacks this season.
3rd down, 9 to go. Ball at the Kansas 49, and for Dave Aranda, this could very well be 4-down territory. Screen pass. 4th down coming up. Josh Cameron, the former walk-on, makes his 5th catch of the season, and it looks like they will go for it. We asked Dave Aranda, how do you define your 4th down? Think about it. Baylor calls a timeout. 2 left. 2:04 to go here in this 2nd quarter. Bears facing a 4th down in Kansas territory.
Of Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Syracuse up on Clemson. Brock Osweiler, if game day heads to Central New York, can you think of any guest pickers?
Are we thinking the guy standing next to me right now?
I think there's guys way higher on the food chain.
Yeah, there'll be a
4th down, Baylor goes for it. They're able to convert. It's Monterey Baldwin, a pickup of a dozen. No surprise that Baylor was going for it there. They go for it a lot. That's what Dave Aranda wants to do. And one of the things he told us, the why. Why do they go for it on 4th down? because it makes defenses less exotic on third down.
It does, and I think it's a mentality. I think he's sending a message to his team right now. They have Kansas on the ropes. If they can get points here, don't forget Baylor gets the ball to start the third quarter. They have a chance to put this one out of reach.
Now there's Reese bulldozing inside to the 20, a gain of 14. He's put up almost 100 yards on the ground in the first half. Richard Reese has benefited from the NIL culture. He's got to deal with a certain chocolate and peanut butter confectionery. Quick throw to the outside, caught down to the 10-yard line. That's going to be close to a first down. Hal Presley. And it's first and goal. Baylor now from the 10 as we come up on a minute to play in the half. 21-3 Bears. 2 timeouts left for Dave Aranda.
I can't stress how critical it is here for Kansas to find a way to create a negative play, a turnover, something. Like I said, right now you feel like you're on the ropes with Baylor approaching that end zone and getting the ball to start the third quarter.
Neighbors in motion. On the fly sweep. Has the 5. Hop steps into the end zone. Jordan Neighbors, the freshman wide receiver. Maybe he's a running back. They view him as a hybrid. The coaches told us it doesn't matter what position he plays. They want to get him the ball more.
That's exactly right. They said, we don't care. We're going to put him as punt returner, kick returner, wide receiver, running back. We're going to send him in motion, send him down the field. We don't care. This young kid is talented, and we need to get him on the field.
How about a 15-play, 99-yard drive for the Baylor Bears?
Into a 30-mile-per-hour wind, mind you. Boy, talk about a statement drive by Baylor there. You're going to see Neighbors come in motion. Shaping times up the snap perfectly. Gets the ball into Neighbors' hands when he's at full speed.
He almost lost it.
Yeah, he did. He bobbled it for a second, but great blocking out there on the perimeter. Great technique. Baylor really coming out making a statement early in this first half today.
This game is going the way many of these Baylor-Kansas games have gone. Baylor's won 12 in a row against Kansas in the 12-game win streak. Baylor's average margin of victory, 37 points. They've outscored Kansas in that span. You ready for this? 578-99, and that does not include the first half today. Short kick into the wind. Trevor Wilson stumbles and is dropped shy of the 25. A flag comes in at the tail end of the play.
During the returns, holding number 32 receiving team. 10-yard penalty, first down.
We remind you to kick off your Week 7 NFL Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern. It's the Countdown Crew on ESPN. The Giants 5-1, best start in more than a decade. Alex Smith sits down with Daniel Jones. Fifth-year option on Jones not picked up. He's now playing the best ball of his career. And then remember, Monday Night Football, Bears in Foxborough to take on the Patriots. Mac Jones could return for New England. The rookie Bailey Zappi 2-0 as a starter the last 2 games for New England. Quentin Skinner had it. Ball comes out. That is a live football. Baylor's got it. Devin Lemire returns it inside the 15. Now they may look at that. Did he complete the action of a catch? Did he make a football move before that ball came out?
Yeah, we're going to need a replay on that one. That was certainly a bang-bang play right there. You need to have clean possession, and you need to be able to make a football move before that can be ruled a fumble.
And something to remember here. We showed that to you in real speed. You're going to see it now in slow-mo.
Then a fumble recovered by the defense. First down, Baylor.
When the officials look at that, they look at it in real time because in their view, slow motion distorts time. So the question is, did he complete the catch? And try to watch it in real time.
But also, does the ball become loose before he hits the ground because they not cause a fumble?
Previous play of a catch fumble is under further review.
What's important here, too, is the call on the field. The call on the field was catch fumble, so you need indisputable evidence to overturn the call. A lot of things to look at. So one, does he complete the catch? And then two, does the ball come out, as you said, before he hits the ground?
Yeah, and to me, that's really what they're looking for right now. I think you could argue that that was certainly a catch. Looks like he has possession, but you don't really, on the initial replay, see that ball become loose until he's on the ground.
From that angle, and again, that's in slow-mo, from that angle, I'm not sure, Brock, if he ever quite secured the football.
I agree 100%. It looks like the helmet by the Baylor defensive back right there gets pressed on the ball initially. You're going to see right there. I don't think that ball was ever possessed. That's an incomplete pass. Now, like you said, has to be indisputable. Can be no question. But to me, this looks pretty clean.
In real time, watching it at full speed, when it happened, my initial thought was incomplete pass.
Yeah, and this is the beauty of the game that we have in 2022, right? This obviously, if this was ruled a fumble and it's Baylor's ball, I mean, that's catastrophic for Kansas. But this is why we have replay. This is why we're able to go to the booth, look at things, and get the call right.
Do you think there's enough there to overturn?
Listen, from my vantage point, the replays I've seen, I think it's an incomplete pass. To me, it looks like as soon as that ball comes into the Kansas possession, right there, boom, ball comes loose.
Okay.
It's never possessed.
But the question is, now you're watching it in slow-mo, and I go back to what we said earlier. According to the replay officials, slow motion distorts time.
On the field stands is called first down.
When he brings that ball in and turns, if that's the football move, and that is a subjective declaration by the officials, if that's the football move, then you can see why the call defaults to stands.
Agreed, but I would say this. After watching a lot of football in my life, that is the quickest ruling on a football move. That was a quick call that was a football move by the Kansas wideout.
Listen, there's nothing more confusing in the game of football these days than what is a catch.
So true.
Baylor's got it, 26 seconds to go. 2 timeouts from the 14 of Kansas now. Shapen, fakes, steps up, evading the pressure, and hit hard. A timeout by Baylor, 18 seconds. Sam Burt, 60-year senior, semifinal for the Campbell Trophy. A semifinalist, the academic Heisman, making the play. You got 1 timeout left. 18 seconds to go. This season, All-State will celebrate every field goal and extra point made by participating universities by making a donation to the university's General Scholarship Fund. Thank you, All-State. So Quentin Skinner now is going to be charged with 2 turnovers. He had the fumble earlier in the game, which led to a Baylor score, and now the fumble, which could lead to another Baylor score. The Bears have not punted in this first half. 4 touchdowns and an interception, and they've benefited greatly from outstanding starting field position. 2nd down, 9 to go. Quaylon Jones goes wide. Shapen to the end zone, wide open, and dropped by Sims. Ben Sims, who is as much of a sure thing on this Baylor offense as anybody, dropped a surefire touchdown.
That is something Ben Sims just doesn't do. I'd be willing to bet anything that when Ben Sims is wide open for a touchdown, he's not going to drop it. That's not him. He needs to brush that one off, get back to the huddle, move forward.
Unlike Ben Simmons, we do see Ben Sims on the field. 3rd down, 9 to go, 13 seconds. Baylor still has a timeout. Shapen over the middle. That's juggled, and it's going to be picked off. That's Craig Young.
We got some late second quarter fireworks right now.
Baylor looking to add one more, and Young able to pick it off. Lost in a sea of sky blue.
You know, and that's something that Dave Aranda talked about this week. You know, it looks like Shapen kind of throws the ball late there, puts it behind his receiver. That's a ball that needed to come out much sooner. You can't throw the ball that late across the middle. But Dave Aranda talked about it this week. He felt like in their losses, they had some opportunities, especially last Thursday night against West Virginia, to put the game away. They didn't take advantage of that right there. You just saw the play before. Ben Sims drops the wide open touchdown. Next play, turnover.
Yeah, this is a 3-3 Baylor team. They could easily have at least 2 more wins. 14 penalties in the loss to BYU. Last week against West Virginia, they put up almost 600 yards of total offense, but offset by 4 turnovers, which ended up costing them the game. They've turned it over twice in the first half, but they still have a comfortable 28-3 lead, and they're 14-3 at the half when leading under Dave Aranda. Time now to get you caught up on the rest of the world in college football. We send you to the studio and Kevin Connors.
How they were going to respond coming out of the long practice week, and I think we now have our answer with Baylor's dominant first half, 28-3.
Baylor will receive to begin the third quarter, and no, Edwin Diaz is not coming out of the bullpen. Jordan Neighbors back deep. Tabor Allen to kick it away. And that will be a touchback. Taylor McGregor caught up with Lance Leipold a few moments ago.
Thank you, Coach. How do you stop Baylor's rushing attack?
Well, we've got to be more physical at the line of scrimmage. They've dominated it on both sides of the ball. We've got to be able to get a little more push. And again, just aggressively, we've got to see what we can do here second half.
How do you guys get something going offensively?
Well, again, we've turned the thing over twice, have a little momentum. We need to be better on first down, get a little more rhythm, and hopefully we control the ball a little bit here this quarter.
Appreciate your time, Coach. Thank you. Anish?
All right, Taylor. Reese on first down gets to the 29, a gain of 4, and he is now 2 yards away from a century game. Taylor, you spoke to Dave Aranda. What did he tell you?
He said, we have not finished much of anything, referring to both this game and this season. He said, we have to not look up in the stands, not look at the scoreboard, not celebrate before this thing is over. He said that last play of the final drive there where they missed a wide open touchdown pass, he said that's a good example of how we've not been able to finish things off. So really wants to see his team finish off Kansas here.
Kansas substituting. If the offense subs, you've got to give the defense time to sub. And what happened there, Baylor substituted late, so Kansas is going to take its time to sub, and now Baylor has to burn a timeout.
Yeah, definitely not the way you want to start the second half. Definitely wanted to come out. You wanted to try to get that momentum back. Obviously, you lost a little bit having that late turnover in the second quarter. Definitely not the clean start you were hoping for.
Making the connection, Brock, is brought to you by Cintas.
Yeah, early in the ball game, Kansas coming out, getting caught, bringing blitz zero, bringing the house. Baylor calls a screen pass, perfect play call. Monterey Baldwin does the rest, getting in the end zone. Then coming back with Richard Reese, toting the rock early on, getting in the end zone. Kansas has yet to slow down that rushing attack for the Baylor Bears, with them already having over 150 yards in this game.
And you're starting to see a little more of Neighbors now. He's to the 32, 3rd and 3 upcoming. Baylor 6 for 9 on third downs in the opening half. Most of the damage done on the ground. Baylor will drive into the wind to begin this third quarter. Shapen to throw. It's caught. It's Cameron. And a first down. So Baylor now 70% on third downs. Dave Aranda on the sidelines for the Bears always has this picture of stoicism. We were talking to him yesterday. Some coaches' meetings are different. With Dave Aranda, you get into books on Stoicism and Franciscan Christianity. He's telling us, I read Marcus Aurelius in Meditations.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun conversation. Threw out a lot of different things that you don't typically hear in a production meeting. It was a lot of fun.
He's a big Star Wars guy as well. That looked like an RPO, and it's Gavin Holmes. Taylor, you talked to him this week. Holmes is one of the great comeback stories in college football.
Perhaps the best way to put it is when we asked offensive coordinator Jeff Grimes about it, he got to tears and emotional. He says been through missing nearly 3 whole seasons of college football, 2 with 5 different ACL surgeries. He had a broken left foot last year, and then he comes back a week ago, has this career performance, and he said this guy deserves it. He comes in every day with a smile on his face. He has worked so hard to get back.
That's Reese. Yeah, that game last week you referred to. He had 210 yards receiving on 7 catches, both career highs. No Baylor receiver had gone over 200 yards since KD Cannon back in the Cactus Bowl in 2016.
Yeah, I think it's one of the best stories in college football this year, just because, you know, as fans, as people that enjoy the game, we see game day, we see the fun stuff. But what you don't see is the guy that's been rehabbing day in and day out when no one's watching for months upon months. Kudos to him for his resilience.
Running behind Dylan Doyle, the fullback.
Richard Reese, the ball carrier.
And Richard Reese gets to the 48-yard line. A yard to go. It'll bring up 4th down, and again, don't be surprised if they go for it. This is what Baylor does, and the way they've run the ball, Brock, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I would suspect Baylor's going to be able to find a way to get a yard in the next 2 plays, right? Excuse me, right here on 4th down. They've yet to be slowed down. Kansas has to find a way to create some disruption up front and create a negative play.
Play clock down to 5. Doyle, the fullback, he gets the call, and Doyle pushes across midfield, a 1st down.
Second time his number's been called today, and I tell you what, that guy's going to find a way to get you that 1st down. Big, strong linebacker there who is not going to be denied.
You talk to coaches around college football, and with teams having not figured out the spread and the no huddle yet, but starting to come around to it much more than, let's say, 10 years ago. There's talk about the fullback and the 3 yards in a cloud of dust, playing a phone booth approach, coming back to college football. Chapin has Sims in the flat. And he's close to another Baylor 1st down. Dotson tripped him up.
Yeah, there certainly is. You know, you're talking about the fullback coming back, more tight ends, and you're really seeing that today with Baylor. With what Jeff Grimes does schematically here on offense for the Baylor Bears, it's really more of your prototypical NFL-type system. Think of, you know, the Dirk Cutter, you know, for the people that remember Boise State days, the Arizona State days when he was with the Atlanta Falcons. You know, you want to use multiple tight ends. You want to be run-pass balanced, mix in play action, marry it up with your run game. This is really a pro-like system.
Speed option. Chapin shakes the first defender and slides for a 1st down at the 35, a gain of 6. It's the circle of life in football, Brock.
Yeah, everything goes through phases, right? It's cool for a little bit, then it becomes a little outdated. Then you bring it back, and you just kind of keep cycling through things. And, you know, Baylor hasn't done a lot of it today. They've done a little bit with their boot and waggle game, moving the quarterback outside the pocket, but they play a lot under center. They try to be somewhat balanced, but what you see in this current formation is the pistol formation, which is a version of under center just from the shotgun.
Quaylen Jones bounces to the outside, lays out a stiff arm, and he's close to another Bears 1st down. Give him 8. Baylor running the ball at will.
Yeah, it's right now it's just big brother versus little brother. And little brother's not able to do pretty much whatever they want offensively outside of the one possession that led to an interception. For the most part, or excuse me, 2 possessions that led to interception. They've pretty much done whatever they've wanted to do today.
Play fake to Jones. Chapin lost the football. It's on the ground. Kansas picks it up. Jerome Robinson, big fella, down the sideline, chugging, and inside the 10. Oh, he could have smelled a thick 6. Just couldn't get there. But a 50-yard return for Jerome Robinson, who almost sent it in.
Just when you say Baylor's been able to do whatever they want, they catch Blake Shapen being lazy with the football, trying to do too much when he just needs to secure that ball and go down with big Robinson right there to make the play.
Hal Presley tracked him down from behind. Jerome Robinson has given Kansas a spark. They'll spread it out. Empty backfield. Now Neal joins Jason Bean. And he takes it inside the 5 to the 3, 2nd and goal. And a chance for Kansas now to get back into this game. If you didn't hear the story in the first half, Lance Leipold told us during the week, last year against Baylor, his team was down big at halftime. He said he found a dejected and defeated team in the locker room. He said this year, when this team has been down, different story. They've got that comeback in their DNA.
Yeah, you're seeing it play out in front of our eyes right now. And then on the flip side, Dave Aranda said to his team at halftime, hey, this game's not over. We got to play like the score is 0-0.
Bean angling. He won't get there. Mark Milton, a touchdown-saving tackle. It's 3rd and goal. And undoubtedly 4-down territory here for Kansas. And is Baylor pleading the case that they've got the football?
Looked like to me that Bean was down and the ball came out once he was already down.
And he's a little shaken up. So what happens on the far sideline? He's out of bounds.
Yeah, knee down,
he's out of bounds.
foot's out of bounds.
Ball comes out, but he was already out of bounds, so it's a dead ball. And Bean was limping a little. Remember, he's the 2nd quarterback. Jalen Daniels, the starter, got hurt against TCU. We get a timeout.
Kansas has called their first charge timeout.
It looked like he hit his head on the turf. We'll take a timeout. 3rd and goal for Kansas. Down 28-3 and down to a 2nd string quarterback. You're watching the Big 12 on ESPN. 3rd and goal for Kansas. Jason Bean is back in there wearing number 9 today. Devin Neal, the running back, in the pistol. The give is to Neal up the gut. And Kansas has its first touchdown of the game.
With the walk-in, and that's exactly how Kansas needed to get things going in the 3rd quarter here. We have ourselves a ball game in Waco.
It's the 40th touchdown of the season for Kansas. That leads the Big 12. Scored 40 touchdowns in a season. 2009 when it scored 49. Oh, by the way, it's still October. Borchilla's kick is good. One correction. It was Jeremy, not Jerome Robinson. Jeremy Robinson forcing the fumble, recovering it, racing 50 yards downfield. And then Devin Neal punches it in. Kansas down 28-10.
ESPN College Football, presented by Sling TV, is brought to you by Crumble Cookies, America's game day dessert. Taste this week's rotating flavors.
I've never actually run in one of those, but I am about to in about a week. That's my Halloween costume, Brock.
Fantastic. Please send photos and video.
Kansas has seized some momentum here in the 3rd quarter. A forced fumble and a fumble recovery by Robinson set the Jayhawks up with a 1st and goal. 3 plays later, a touchdown run by Devin Neal. It's 28-10. And Kansas will kick with the wind to its back. This week's college football rankings are brought to you by AT&T 5G. Georgia Back on top at number 1, Ohio State. They were down early against Iowa when Iowa's defense scored. Iowa's offense has been, Iowa's offense. Tennessee rolling, no letdown against UT Martin. Not that you would expect one after the big win against Alabama. Number 5, Clemson at home, trailing number 14, Syracuse. How about that, Brock?
I see that big smile on your face. The Orange alumni in the booth with me today. I love it.
It's been a minute since they've had nice things in Central New York. Richard Reese picks up 5, 19 carries, 107 yards for Reese. He came into the game 4th in rushing yards amongst FBS true freshmen.
I think this is a critical series for Blake Shapen, sophomore quarterback, to see how he bounces back from adversity. He's thrown 2 interceptions. He's just had the big fumble. Let's see if he's able to brush that stuff off and look forward through the windshield rather than the rearview mirror.
The 3 turnovers, the only bugaboo for Baylor today. They have not punted. They've scored on every drive where they haven't turned it over. Reese turbos close to the 40-yard line. Taylor?
Message to Kansas's defensive line is let's slow the game down. Let's get them out of their rhythm. When they sub, we sub. You can see him doing it here right now. Brock, my question to you, how important is gamesmanship to try to get Baylor out of a rhythm?
It's huge. You have to do something because at this point in the game, you haven't done much to slow down Baylor's offense at all except for the turnovers. So you do need to reach deep into the playbook. You need to get creative, and you need to find a way to allow your players to have success on defense for the Jayhawks.
A gain of 5 for Jones. Little angle route by the running back. And earlier, Brock, we did see Kansas with a well-timed late sub forced Baylor to burn a timeout.
Yeah, and that really fell on Baylor, right? They didn't have the right personnel. They ran someone in late, and per the rules, the officials are going to stand over the ball, and they really forced themselves into taking that timeout.
Baylor's a first down for Baylor. You mentioned it earlier, Brock. He's not a big kid, 5'9", 175, but he runs big.
He absolutely does. I have to be honest, watching him on film all week and seeing that he's listed at 175, I didn't believe it. I had to ask the sports information director for Baylor. I said, hey, is this kid really 175 pounds? And then, you know, I got down on the field pregame and I was able to see, yep, okay, he looks more like 175. But to your point, he runs big, he runs tough, physical football player.
Shapen, he's got Holmes. Not much, only about a yard, maybe 2. When you hear the word bell cow associated with a running back, there's a stereotype, there's an archetype. You're thinking 5'10", 5'11", 220, thick with 2 C's.
100%.
You're not thinking 5'9", 175.
No, certainly not. But I would have to assume that Richard Reese, pound for pound, is one of the strongest players on this football team just because of what he's put on film. Like I said, he does look like a bell cow when you're breaking down his film.
2 tight ends, Holmes in motion. Play action. They'll try to set up the screen. Kansas read it. It's a loss. And Baylor back in its own territory. 3rd and long coming up. The Bears 7 of 11 on 3rd down.
Slowly starting to feel like some momentum is shifting in the game. Looks like Kansas is coming alive. And really, that's been Baylor's season. When they play clean ball games, they look as good as anyone in the country. But when they have penalties and turnovers, that's led to their 3 losses.
And again, Kansas, the late substitution. You've got to give them time. Baylor needs the Kansas 40-yard line. Play clock in single digits. Over the middle, Holmes can't hold on.
Ball dropped.
Second to drop by Gavin Holmes. 4th down. And here comes the punt team. Baylor will punt for the first time.
Boy, that's a ball that we're used to seeing Gavin Holmes make, especially last week coming off that career-high game against West Virginia. Certainly one that he's going to want back. Great ball placement by Blake Shapen.
Isaac Power, great name for a punter. He's put 8 of his 17 punts inside the 20 this year. O.J. Burrows waits at the 10. Over the head of Burrows.
Bouncing inside the 5, and that's where it's downed by Baylor. A 48-yard kick, and a long way to go for Kansas. Bears. For Baylor head coach Dave Aranda, it's been the self-inflicted wounds this season that have gnawed at him. 4 turnovers last week, 3 today. Pressure off the edge. Neal makes the catch and driven back by Devin Lemire. It's going to be a loss of 2 on the play.
Backed up is never easy. You're just trying to get the ball out quick. Baylor brought pressure to force Jason Bean into making a quick decision. When you're backed up like this, you're just trying to find 1 first down. You're trying to get your back off the goal line, find 1 first down, and then your full playbook opens up.
Wolcott, who plays that star position down in the box, and flags fly.
False start, number 54. Offense, half the distance to the goal. 2nd down.
Michael Ford, that right guard, one of 8 Buffalo transfers, all of whom who played for Lance Leipold or were recruited by Lance Leipold to Buffalo and then came over to Kansas. Leipold saying part of his philosophy, hey, we want some of those MAC transfers with a chip on their shoulder. Bean from his own end zone. Doyle in pursuit. Bean throws. Fairchild makes the catch, and he gets about a yard from the original line of scrimmage, 3rd and long.
And not only did Lance Leipold say that he wants the guys from the smaller schools that have the chip on their shoulder that want to prove something, he also said, I want young guys. I want guys that will come into my program that are freshmen or sophomores, whether that be JUCO, the portal, or high school kids, that we can train and really instill our core values as Kansas Jayhawks.
On 3rd down. Over the middle, reaching catch. It's made by Casey. And a first down all the way to the 26-yard line. A gain of 19. It was Jared Casey who became a cult hero after the game-winning 2-point conversion catch against Texas last year.
What a catch by Casey. Reaching out, he's really running about a 12-yard in-cut there, a dig route. Ball's out in front of him. I gotta admit, Jared Casey, he's kind of this mix. Is he a fullback? Is he a defensive tackle? But he plays tight end. He has tremendous hands, and you see there, he's not afraid to make that catch and get hit with contact.
After a gain of 2, this is Bean, quarterback draw, and he gets close to the first down. It'll set up 3rd and 2. There's Dylan Doyle.
Well, that was a big hit by Doyle there. Bean coming down on his right shoulder. If I'm Andy Kotelnicki, offense coordinator for Kansas, I'm very careful with the called quarterback runs I have for Jason Bean, because your backup today, because of the injury to Jalen Daniels, is a true freshman.
And a true freshman who has yet. Final 45 seconds of the quarter. Bean on the bootleg, throws downfield, has a man open. And that's Skinner looking to atone for a couple of fumbles that he lost earlier in the game. A 22-yard pickup, and the Jayhawks in Baylor territory. Bears just moments ago, before this drive started, had a win probability of 98%. Bean's got time, and Neal dropped it. Was thinking about the run after the catch before he caught it.
There's a little something in the air today, right? Baylor's had their fair share of drops. Kansas has now had theirs. A little something blowing around here today.
All right, Mr. Quarterback. What does that really do inside a QB's helmet when you guys are dropping balls left and right?
It's frustrating. It really is. You know, it's hard to get into a rhythm as a quarterback. So when you have those surefire completions like we just saw there that should have been an easy catch, definitely wears on you a little bit.
Off the play fake, Bean chased by Wolcott. And he ran out of real estate. That's going to be a loss. It'll bring up 3rd down
Jason Bean on the keeper. Jason, that's a flag off flag.
And there's a player down on the sideline. It's Cole Maxwell, the sixth-year tackle, all conference a season ago.
I know that was a short sack, but that's one that Bean just needs to find a way. As soon as he gets to the sideline and knows the play is over, throw the ball out of bounds, keep the sack. Your offensive line's only given up 4 sacks all year. That's one they're definitely going to talk to you about as a quarterback come film session on Sunday. But also save your team the yards and make it more third and manageable. It's already going to be third and long.
Maxwell is still down. He's battled injuries in his career. His first 3 seasons at Baylor, only played 2 games. Dave Aranda looking on. We'll check in while we have a moment with Kevin in the studio.
All right, Anish, your Twisted Tea drop in. Clemson driving on Syracuse, but how about the 3rd turnover, Acho, the Orange defense is forced?
2 forced fumbles and an interception. Syracuse seems like they're taking control.
21-10, the Orange lead, Anish, on ABC.
Wow.
Syracuse at 6-0, looking to go to 7-0. That has not happened since 1987, the year the Orange almost won a national championship. They got to the Sugar Bowl, played Auburn, and Pat Dye elected to kick a field goal for a tie instead of go for the win. And to this day, fans from Central New York have been sending Pat Dye tie-dye shirts. Empty set on 3rd and 13. And he's got Arnold for a first down. Kansas came into the game 54% on 3rd downs. They convert a big one at the end of the 3rd. The Jayhawks will have it at the Baylor 31. 3 quarters in the books. Kansas down 28-3 at halftime. Looking for a rally and a comeback. Baylor trying to hold on.
Keeping an eye on everything going on in college football. Syracuse has just intercepted DJ Uiagalelei again, up 11 over on ABC. Cincinnati and SMU getting tight on ESPN. And Hendon Hooker, 3 touchdown passes. Tennessee now boat racing UT Martin on the SEC network. Anish.
It's getting interesting here too. Kansas with a first down at the Baylor 31. Devin Neal, big hole, left side. And stiff arms his way for a gain of 7, dropping Mark Milton. 2nd down and 3. The Jayhawks trailed 28-3 at halftime. Used a turnover to set up a score in the 3rd quarter. And now after a Baylor punt, on the move. Bean to the end zone for Skinner. And he brings it in.
What a catch, man.
Touchdown, Kansas. It's 28-16. And let's see what the Jayhawks do. It looks like they're going to go for 2.
What a throw by Bean. I got to be honest, I'm sitting up here. I see the safety running over. I can see where Bean's going to go. I'm like, don't throw, don't throw. He lets it go, puts it only where his receiver can get it. Receiver makes a tremendous play, tracking that ball over his shoulder.
Bean will try to throw it back. It's batted down by Milton. So the conversion fails. But to go back to what Lance Leipold told us, there's a different energy and a different fight with this team. Down 28-3, there was no giving.
You can see it there. Think about Quentin Skinner today, right? The guy that just made the incredible catch for the touchdown, has a couple turnovers, has a drop, hasn't played the best game. But you know what I know about Quentin Skinner? The guy is mentally tough. This is a kid that originally walked on. He earned a scholarship this spring. Tremendous story for the Jayhawk football program. And right now, you're seeing that fight. You're seeing the no quit that the Jayhawks have. When you put together an 11-play, 95-yard drive, when your back's against the wall, it says a lot about your football team and the personality of it.
Even Ron Roberts, the Baylor D coordinator, when we told him, hey, Kansas looks better. They look different this season. When you turn on the tape, what do you see from Kansas? The first word out of his mouth was effort. They just play harder. And Lance Leipold, as Michael Ford is able to get up, Lance Leipold, in a year and a half, just about, at Kansas, has won 7 games. Now, may not seem like much for other programs, but when you consider the 5 coaches before him, including Clint Bowen, who was the interim coach when Charlie Weiss was fired midseason, none of those guys won 7 games in their entire tenure.
Yeah, and from a player's perspective, I almost think it's easy to understand what's happening. Okay, think about what Lance Leipold has done in his career. At Wisconsin Whitewater, Division III, he wins 6 national championships in 7 years. Then he takes his staff and they go to Buffalo. And what's he do up there? He wins. He's a 2-time MAC Coach of the Year. Then he shows up to Kansas. So my point is, if you're a player and you're in that meeting room and you're sitting in the seats, whatever he says to me, whatever he's feeding me, I'm eating it. And I'm willing to run through a wall for this guy because I know he knows how to win football games.
At this point of the season at Lawrence, it was, when does basketball season start? And obviously, as Baylor calls for a fair catch, but football is going to be interesting down the stretch with a Jayhawks team that's 1 win away from bowl eligibility. They were down against TCU. Their backup quarterback comes in for an injured Jalen Daniels. They had a chance late in that game to tie the game. Last week, Oklahoma builds up a big lead. Even in that 4th quarter, they still were fighting. They put up 42. Now, they gave up 52, a problem, but they put up 42 on the Sooners.
To me, for Kansas, it's simple. They're going to score points. They're top 25 in the nation. They're going to get yards offensively. They just need to find a way to slow down the opponent's offense on their defense.
Baylor keeps it on the ground. And a gain of 4, and Reese back to Taylor.
Well, just the motivation that you guys were referring to and the way that this team plays. Kenny Logan Jr. telling me there's so much to play for at this point in this season. They walk around campus, people are acknowledging that they play for KU football, whereas before the focus was on basketball. And so they feel motivation within the program, but also from the fans and everybody around them, just gassing them up on what they've done so far. So that has a big thing to do with it.
There's Reese again. The running attack has been superb for Baylor, and if you're a Baylor fan at this juncture, it's pretty simple. If you take care of the football, you're probably going to win this game. The Bears' mistakes, the 3 turnovers, have left the door open for a Kansas comeback.
Yeah, and that's ultimately been the MO of this Baylor Bears football team this year. When they play clean football games, they win. When they have too many penalties and too many turnovers, they're -3 in the turnover margin for the season. They lose games. This is a critical drive for Baylor. This is that drive where if you go get points, you put the game away.
On 3rd down, a 1st down. 12 more for Richard Reese. You just saw the rushing graphic. That was a catch. But Reese has almost 3 times as many rushing yards as the entire Kansas team today.
Just a great job there on the toss play. 2 offensive linemen pulling around the edge, really sealing off that edge, creating a nice little crease in there. Baylor's done a tremendous job in the run game today.
Shaping off play action. Fires a strike. Hal Presley's got a 1st down at the 44 of Kansas. Chapin came to Baylor as a 2-sport star, terrific baseball player out of high school, the #1 shortstop prospect in the entire state of Louisiana. But football's the focus now.
This is that part of the field that Baylor traditionally has liked to try to go play action and take a shot towards the end zone.
Reese. A couple. Career high 24 carries now for Richard Reese. Tonight. night, 7:30 Eastern on ABC. Penn State against Minnesota. That's in State College. Saturday Night Football presented by Capital One. Penn State looking to bounce back from a loss to Michigan. Quaylon Jones, the running back. 2nd down and 8, pistol formation. Sims, the tight end, in motion. Jones, big hole, left side. Jones rumbling down the sideline before he's pushed out by Grant. A gain of 25.
Boy, some of these holes today the offensive line has created. You could drive a Mack truck through, doing a tremendous job on their combo blocks. You can tell they're really in sync here, running the outside zone play, getting some double teams to start the play, climbing up to the 2nd level, getting a hat on a hat, and really making the job easy for the running backs today.
Reese, and fights his way forward inside the 15. A gain of 2, 2nd down and 8. Baylor's had the ball almost twice as long as Kansas.
And it really boils down to the run game. If you don't have to throw the ball in a football game to pick up yards, to pick up first downs, to pick up points, advantage you. And that's been really the way this game has played out for the Baylor's Bears today from the onset. They've been able to run the ball at will whenever they want to.
They run it again. And it's Reese to the 11.
When you're able to run the football, more times than not, you can protect the ball. Like you just said, you control time of possession, and you really kind of dictate the flow of the game. If you want to play fast, you can. If you want to huddle up and slow it down and shrink the game, you can. And Baylor's really done this textbook today.
You had more fun playing the other way, though.
Listen, both ways are fun. As long as you're winning ball games, at the end of the day, you're having a good time.
And Baylor can do both. Reese scrabbles ahead. He's going to be close.
And what's taking place right now for Kansas is just so defeating, right? You've hung in the game, you scratched, you clogged, you've kept yourself in it. You go get the touchdown, you feel like the momentum's coming. That was that time that you needed the 3 and out by your defense. And like we were touching on earlier, that's who Kansas is right now. We know they can score points, they can move the football, they just haven't been.
They're going to measure. And even if they don't get it, you got to assume Dave Aranda's going to go for it.
100%.
Going to be a little shy. All right, is this another opportunity here for the fullback, Dylan Doyle?
Why not? Or, hey, you've already used him twice. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe you fake it to him. There's a pass involved, maybe a bootleg. You try to get outside. Regardless, though, I know what Dave Aranda's doing. This is a confidence booster for his team if they can pick it up, and it also gives them a chance to put this game out of reach midway through the 4th quarter.
Quaylon Jones, the deep back, Doyle, the fullback. Sims in motion.
That was going to be a quarterback sneak.
And timeout, Kansas. The Jayhawks use a timeout to talk it over defensively. 4th and 1 on the other side. If you miss your flight today, stick around, go to Austin. That's the next stop on the F1 schedule, the Aramco US Grand Prix. Tomorrow, 3 Eastern, pre-race coverage begins at 1:30 Eastern on ABC. Just throw it on the expense account.
Hey, I'm game. Let's get one of those little Mercedes buses, drive us down after the game. We'll have a blast. Let's do it.
4th down, Baylor, quarterback sneak, and they get enough to move the chains. 1st and goal, Bears.
Getting a lot of pointing right now, going both directions.
It looked like he got it right on that initial push.
You always wonder if there's a fumble or something like that that takes place down at the bottom of the pile.
Well, they will measure. Didn't need very much. Let's see where they spot it. I'm not sure with that spot.
Oh, boy.
I thought they would have given him a little more, just depending on that initial push.
What a stop this would be for Kansas if it goes their way.
This is huge.
Oh, he's short.
Wow, Kansas football.
How about them Jayhawks?
Woo! This isn't your big brother's Jayhawks. It's a new team. It's a new energy. It's a new coaching staff. And normally, Kansas down 28-3 at any point in the last 10, 15 years. Guess what? It's probably 56-10 right now.
These head coaches know their team so well. Dave Aranda said it. We've had a chance to put games away this year. We haven't done it. It's bit us. And then, like you just said, Lance said it all week. He's like, this is a different Kansas team. We're gritty. We're tough. We don't quit.
From the 7-yard line, Devin Neal scavenges for a couple. Second down. One of the things Lance Leipold did last year when the team was losing, he didn't change anything. He told us we kept things the same. And then when we beat Texas and started winning this year, we kept things the same. That consistency, Brock, Lance Leipold feels has been needed by this program and this team.
Well, he said where the belief really came. He said, obviously, the Texas win was huge, but it's how we followed that up. He goes, we didn't win some big games on the stretch, but we competed in them till the very end.
To the air. Bean's got all day. And he's got Lance Arnold. Lawrence Arnold. A gain of 28.
What a throw. And let's not forget, Kansas is going into roughly a 20, 25, 30 mile per hour wind, depending on the gust. That is an all-world throw going dead into that wind.
Arnold leads the team in receiving yards, going quickly. And on the slant, they get it to the 46. 8 more down to Taylor.
Quick injury update. Right guard Michael Ford for Kansas is not in the game. He's over here on the sideline with ice on his left.
Thanks, Taylor. Neal B-buttons his way to the 49. It's a first down. Baylor now getting subs in.
You can feel the tide starting to shift a little bit. Kansas getting into a rhythm. Let's not forget, this is a top 25 scoring offense in America.
Bean again with plenty of time. Lets it go downfield. It's caught! Trevor Wilson, first and goal, Kansas.
What a throw, what a catch. Bean had two choices. He had his tight end down the seam at the top of your screen. He had Wilson at the bottom. Great throw, great catch.
They are going quickly, movement all over, and here come the flags.
False start, number 83, offense, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
See Bean starting on the left side of the field, doesn't like what he sees, comes back to the right side, throws a strike dead into that big wind that we have here in the stadium today. Great job finding the explosive play downfield. You just can't hurt yourself, though, after that explosive gain with the false start. You got to find a way to be in rhythm as an offense.
Arnold in motion, first and goal now from the 7. Bean will keep it, looking for the edge, and shoved out of bounds by Lemire. Second and goal.
Bean's limping a little bit.
Bean, end zone, nearly intercepted. Incomplete, he wanted Skinner. A.J. McCarty there to break it up. It's third and goal.
I like the tempo by Kansas right now. You feel like you have Baylor on their heels, but also This is the most critical drive of the game for you. Huddle up like you're doing right now. Get into your call sheet and find your very best play call from the 4-yard line. You cannot risk getting anything on this series but a touchdown.
3 receivers to the left. Bean's gonna run. Ika was in pursuit. Bean's got an opening. Touchdown, Kansas.
That's when you know you have a special player. Bean had an open target in the end zone, but he has such elite speed and quicks that he goes, hey, I'm not even going to risk putting this ball into the air. I'm going to take it in myself.
Now the extra point by Borchilla.
Doesn't this just feel like the story of the Baylor football team this season?
And the Kansas 1 for 2. As Borchilla's kick is good. Now, Kansas has been this redemption song in college football. From the gulags and rising up, down 28-3 at halftime. They've closed to within 5.
Presented by Sling, the TV you love for a price you'll love.
Kansas has rallied from 28-3 down at halftime to make this a 5-point game with 6.5 to play in regulation. Let's check in quickly with Taylor.
Let's wake up. Let's go. This game isn't over. That's what defensive end for Baylor, Braden Utley, has been screaming to his teammates, a lot of them in disbelief down here. Remember, Dave Aranda at halftime telling me they've not been able to finish anything all season long. He wanted to see finish, and certainly we're seeing them not being able to finish right now.
Kansas has never won in Waco. Baylor's won 12 in a row against the Jayhawks. And today's the first time since 2011 that Kansas has scored more than 14 points against Baylor. Most of these games have been lopsided in this 12-game winning streak for Baylor.
Let's not forget, Lance Leipold said one of our goals is to not be everyone's homecoming game. Beat Baylor today, they're done scheduling you.
Baylor will have the ball at the 31-yard line. 6:29 to go in regulation. The Bears cling to a 5-point lead.
Kevin and Sam in studio. Things tightening up in Death Valley behind Big Phil Maffa.
Well, there's a quarterback change. DJU got benched. Cade Klubnik in. Maffa with the touchdown.
21-16.
And Baylor trying to do the same here on ESPN2. They've got the ball and the lead. 6:29 to go, fourth quarter. And they'll keep it on the ground. That has been the formula for most of the afternoon. Crowd wants a late hit. No flag. Reese out to the 33-yard line. Win probability is something a lot of folks can have fun with if that's your jam. Early in the third quarter, when it was still 28-3, it was 99.4% for Baylor. At the start of this drive, 84%. Shapen, the screen to Reese. And through a warren of defenders, he makes his way out to the 47-yard line, a gain of 14 and a first down. Give it to 29. That has been the formula.
The defensive line for Kansas is going to have their ears pinned back. They want to be aggressive. They're trying to make a play and get the ball back for their offense. What's the best thing to do against an aggressive defense? Call a screen and use their aggressiveness against them. Perfect play call.
Quaylen Jones comes in to spell Richard Reese. Jones, the bigger back, bulldozes across midfield. The Bears north of 230 yards on the ground today.
Well, I tell you what, it doesn't matter if Reese has the ball in his hands or Jones. These backs are running hard. They're falling forward. Offensive line has done a tremendous job in their wide zone schemes, opening up big holes for these backs today. It's really been a clinic run day for the Baylor Bears.
Pistol look, 2 tight ends. Another ground pound. Little shake by Jones. And he's taken out of bounds right at the 45-yard line. It's going to be shy of the markers, so you're looking at 3rd and 2. We come up on 4.5 to play, both teams with 2 timeouts.
This is a really interesting time for Baylor and the play call system right here. It's 3rd and 2. You got the wind at your back. You have Kansas selling out for the run. Is it time for a play action shot to the end zone, knowing you could possibly run for it on 4th down, or do you use 2 plays to try to pick up this 1st down running the ball? You got one-on-one coverage across the board for Baylor right now.
Speed option. Reese, 1st down. Inside the 20. And chased down inside the 10-yard line. Marvin Grant saved a touchdown. 37 more for Reese, who's up to 178, a new career high.
Very timely call. Jayhawks bringing an inside blitz with their 2 linebackers. There's only 1 guy left. It's the defensive end for Kansas for both Reese and Chapin there. He has to cover both guys. He can't be right. Chapin pitches the ball to Reese. Reese hits the seam and does the rest.
Cameron in motion. Reese again, the freshman. Barrels to the 2-yard line. 2nd and goal.
I'll tell you what, I know we've talked a lot about him today, but Richard Reese, he just does not run the football like a true freshman. You can tell this kid's going to be special all around back. He understands the pass protections, understands the passing game. Obviously, you can see he has tremendous vision and understanding what the offensive line is trying to do, depending on what type of run it is. This kid's got a very bright future.
Doyle is the fullback. Reese on the pitch. Touchdown.
That was set up from a couple 3rd downs ago, right? Doyle's picked up 2 1st downs today on that fullback dive. It was time to fake the dive and flip it out to the running back there. Tremendous timing of the play call. I'll tell you what, Jeff Grimes has had himself a day with his play calling. Great job finding the end zone when it was time to answer for Baylor.
Richard Reese, his 2nd rushing touchdown, 186 on the ground. Baylor up 2 scores. ESPN College Football is presented by Sling TV. 2nd rushing touchdown for Richard Reese has given Baylor a 2-score advantage. 2:37 left in regulation. We check out the biggest games of the weekend with our weekend menu brought to you by Crumble Cookies. And we'll have those for you right after Mayers kicks it off. And the wind has knocked it off the tee. Baylor's got the wind at its back. And that's going to be the other challenge now for Kansas. They're down 2 scores, throwing into the wind.
Yeah, not exactly ideal conditions when you're down by 2 possessions. Have to find a way, though.
And here is your weekend menu following our game. It's Memphis and Tulane. The Green Wave now ranked. They were 2-10 last year. 6-1 this year, including a win against Kansas State. Minnesota at Penn State later tonight on ABC. Texas, Oklahoma State should be a fun one. And Alabama at home against Mississippi State after the loss to Tennessee. It's funny, anytime Bama loses a game in the regular season, there are all these thought pieces during the week. What's wrong with Alabama? Why is this happening? I mean, they lost one game to a very good Tennessee team on the road.
I get it.
On a last-second field goal.
I get it. I think it's just a credit to Nick Saban and what he's created down there. Everyone just assumes they're going to go undefeated every single year.
Jason Bean in trouble and has to throw it away. Let's check in with Kevin.
All right, Anish, things changing dramatically in Death Valley after forcing another Syracuse punt. Here's Will Shipley.
And it was K Club at the quarterback. He had ran the play before. The defensive end didn't squeeze all the way down. Will Shipley, 50 yards, touchdown.
And the Tigers lead it by 3.
Will Shipley, the pride of Weddington, North Carolina. Bean threw it behind Wilson. 3rd and 10.
Yeah, that was one where the linebacker, the inside linebacker, was buzzing out to that quick inside slant. Bean had his tight end right over the ball. Just needs to clue in on those defenders and see where they're moving.
.223 yards passing for Bean. 1 touchdown. Skinner in motion. Four-man twist by Baylor. Bean throws. It's caught by Fairchild, the tight end. 2 yards shy of the marker. There is a flag, though, back at the 16.
Nice catch by Fairchild. Big time with the guy on his back.
Holding, number 55. Offense, 10-yard penalty. Still 3rd down.
Armaje Reed Adams, who came in for the injured Michael Ford.
Yeah, stepping in. He's rotated in a little bit this year, has some playing time under his belt. Just tough conditions. Listen, when you're in an obvious pass mode, an offensive lineman's job is very difficult. You know you're going against a defensive line with their ears pinned back. They're in pass rushing mode. That's tough to do, and especially when you get your quarterback moving around in the pocket, you don't exactly know where he is.
Kansas using its second timeout. 2:14 to go. Baylor with a 35-23 lead. I'll tell you what, once basketball season starts, these two, the last 2 defending champions, Kansas won it last year, Baylor the year before. That's going to be something. And both are preseason top 5 teams, co-favorite in the Big 12. Should be fun.
I'll tell you what, credit both these schools. What they're doing football-wise, what they're doing basketball-wise, it's a lot of fun to watch.
On the game clock. Thank you.
Third and 20. Bean sidearms it. It's caught by Terry, who is lassoed down shy of the 25. So about a yard shy of the original line of scrimmage. It'll bring up 4th down. And Kansas will use its final timeout.
Great decision by Bean there. Didn't hold on to the ball too long, waiting for something downfield. He knew he just needed to get a completion to make it 4th and manageable. Great job picking up a positive play there by Bean.
We remind you to sign up today at ESPNplus.com/Big12 now. It's a must-have for Big 12 fans. Some of the featured events. Every Wednesday, it's the Big 12 Football Weekly Show that breaks down Saturday's games and previews the week ahead. Plus, the Big 12 Soccer Tournament begins Sunday, October 30th with the quarterfinals.
I'll tell you what, you got to credit Baylor, right? Right when everything felt like it was falling apart, things were going to unravel, Kansas had all the momentum in the world. Baylor puts together a tremendous drive, a championship-esque drive. They ran the football down the field. They imposed their will. I think that says a lot about the mindset of where Baylor's at now compared to a couple weeks ago.
For Baylor going forward, it's going to be simple. If they can just clean up the mistakes, this is a team that's got a chance to make a run in the second half, no doubt.
I 100% agree. They are a tremendous football team when they play clean football.
On fourth down, Bean to the air. And his pass is batted down by Hall. Baylor takes over on downs. 2:02 to go. Kansas out of timeouts.
Great defense by Baylor. Jason Bean just had nowhere to go with the football. He tried to hang in the pocket as long as he could. Nothing was open downfield. Trying to make something happen there when he's approaching the sideline. Just tough sledding for Jason Bean, who I will say this. Baylor today said, hey, we want to see if this kid can beat us from the pocket. For the most part, he's done a tremendous job making throws down the field from the pocket. He's had a good game. Just there, unfortunately, he had nowhere to go with the football.
Every game he's played, even the Oklahoma game for a little bit, you never felt Kansas was totally out of it. As Shapen shifts to the right and takes a knee. What we're learning about the Jayhawks this season, they're no longer a punching bag in the Big 12. They've become a tough out. Richard Reese, a true freshman, a budding star for Baylor.
I agree, man. The future is so bright for Richard Reese. Like I said earlier, he's only 175 pounds. You can see his speed and athleticism, but what he also brings to the table is power. He can lower his shoulder. He falls forward. I'm really, really excited to watch the career of Richard Reese unfold here in Waco.
31 carries, 186 yards. Both are career highs, averaging better than 6 yards per carry. And it seemed every time this Baylor offense, as we get a timeout, every time this Baylor offense needed just a bit of stability. Okay, we need a play. We need some positive yardage. Give it to 29, and that worked.
Well, I'll say this, as a former quarterback, your best friend besides a good defense is a great run game. And right now, Baylor has that. Listen, Blake Shapen, traditionally, and going back into last season, he's done great things at the quarterback position. But today he was off, right? 3 turnovers, 2 interceptions. He had that fumble in the second half. That was a big play for Kansas. You know, he really needed that run game today, and it definitely showed up for the Bears.
And that run game, you hope for Baylor can get some reinforcements in the next few weeks. They want Squirrel Williams to come back. He's out today with a head injury. Tay McWilliams has missed now 5 games after a concussion against BYU. If he can come back, well, now you're giving Reese and Quaylon Jones some help back there as well.
Listen, they got some dudes in the running back room here at Baylor, but I'll say this. To this point in the season, it's been somewhat of a running back room by committee. But I think what the true freshman Richard Reese said today is, hey, no more committee. Give me the rock. I'm ready to spin.
There's a committee chair.
Good stuff. Regardless, once again, like we talked about, if Baylor just cleans up the penalties, cleans up the turnovers, I tell you what, they're as good as anybody in this conference. They can go toe-to-toe with anybody, and they could have a great second half to their season.
And that'll do it. Baylor has now won 13 in a row against Kansas. The Bears off the schneid. They snap a 2-game losing streak. Lance Leipold's Jayhawks have now lost 3 in a row after that 5-0 start. Kansas remains 1 win away from bowl eligibility. Baylor gets its 4th win of the season, and there's been a lot of talk about those handshakes pre-game at the end of the game. This league from top to bottom, Brock, there are no easy outs anymore.
No, the Big 12 stacked this year. I'd say everybody is playing really good football, and you're going to have to show up and bring your best game every Saturday in the Big 12 conference if you expect to win football games.
Down to Taylor.
Thanks so much. Coach, you talked about finish in the second half. What did you see?
We still got to improve. I think, you know, in the past so far this year, we've learned some really hard lessons, and we've taken losses because of them. You know, to learn a lesson again here about finishing and how not to finish and how to do it better, but come away with a win. I think it's a sign of us growing as a team.
Richard Reese with a career day on the ground. What stood out to you about his performance?
There was a relentlessness about him. There was a toughness. There was an edge that he was playing with. You know, the amount of times he fell forward after contact, and he's getting hit by guys twice the size of Richard. And so it was good to see. He played very violent today.
You guys always get it done on the ground, but especially here today. How much of the game plan was needing to finish things in the rushing attack?
It was very important. I think, you know, that's our identity. And so it turned out that the wind, and did you have it in this quarter or did you have it in that quarter, was able to really focus and harness all of our attention on the run game, and I thought it paid off.
Appreciate your time, Coach. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Anish?
All right, Taylor, Dave Aranda's team back in the win column on the back of the freshman running back, Richard Reese. 35-23, your final score here in Waco. That does it for us. Gorgeous afternoon in Waco. There is still a full day of college football ahead for Taylor McGregor and Brock Osweiler. I'm Anish Shroff. A lot to catch up on. That's why